Okay, so we're jumping straight into something really quite troubling that unfolded just last night, Saturday, April 26th.
Mm-hmm.
Picture this. The quiet hills of Kupwara up in North Kashmir,
Right.
Kandi Khas. It's a village, and you think of the evening settling in,
Mm-hmm.
maybe the smell of wood smoke, people finishing their day, just that normal rhythm.
That sense of ordinary life.
And then that rhythm is just shattered, violently broken.
And it's that contrast, isn't it? The perceived peace and then this sudden brutal act. It really underscores the fragility that can lie just beneath the surface sometimes.
Exactly, because we're not talking about a major political figure or someone known for controversy necessarily.
Yeah.
The victim here is Ghulam Rasool Magray. He was 44, a shopkeeper.
Just an ordinary guy, seemingly.
An ordinary guy, but also, importantly, someone known for being a social activist, someone trying to improve things in his own community.
Right. Actively involved.
And he was attacked, gunned down inside his own home, the place he should have been safest.
That's particularly chilling, the invasion of the home space. It feels very targeted, very deliberate, like sending a message.
And the timing,
Mm-hmm.
well, it's impossible to ignore, isn't it?
Yeah.
This comes just 4 days after that horrific terror attack in Pahalgam.
Yeah.
So you immediately start thinking, is there a connection?
Yeah.
Or is this, a sign of something wider, deterioration?
That proximity in time definitely rings alarm bells. It forces you to ask, are these isolated tragedies, or is there some sort of pattern emerging here? It certainly puts the whole security situation back into sharp focus.
So that's what we want to do in this deep dive. We want to really unpack the details of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
What do we actually know? Who was Ghulam Rasool Magray really? What are the police saying? What's the investigation looking like?
And crucially, what might this signify for the bigger picture in Kashmir? Trying to piece it together from the fragments we have.
Okay, let's start with the attack itself. Reports say armed men basically stormed his house late Saturday evening. It sounds like it was very sudden.
Yeah.
They opened fire. No warning.
That method, the forced entry, immediate gunfire, it does suggest, as you said, something planned, not, a random burglary gone wrong or something.
He was hit, apparently, in the abdomen and his wrist.
Yeah.
Serious injuries.
Yeah.
They rushed him to the district hospital in Handwara first.
Okay.
And then, because the injuries were so severe, he was transferred to SMHS Hospital in Srinagar.
The main hospital there.
But tragically, despite all those efforts, he didn't make it. He died from his injuries.
Which brings us right back to that fundamental, deeply unsettling question.
Yeah.
Why him? Why Ghulam Rasool Magray?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why target a shopkeeper, a social activist? What was the motive?
It pushes us, naturally, to look a bit closer at who he was, beyond just the shop. What was his activism about? What else was he involved in?
Well, we know he was active in his community, trying to improve things locally.
Mm-hmm.
And significantly, he was involved in the line of control trade.
Ah, right, the Lossy trade.
Yeah, for anyone listening who doesn't know, this was that cross-border initiative
Uh-huh.
between India and Pakistan. The idea was, build connections, maybe foster some peace through economic links, trade.
It's an interesting initiative because, well, on the one hand, it's this positive step, right? Trying to build bridges across a very tense border using commerce.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, anything happening across the Lossy, especially trade, inevitably operates in a really complex security and political environment.
Yeah, that complexity might have touched him directly. It sounds like Gray faced some official scrutiny before.
Oh.
Back in 2020, his home was actually raided by the National Investigation Agency, the NIA, and the Income Tax Department.
Okay, that's significant. Was anything found? Were charges filed?
Well, the thing, apparently no clear charges were ever made public after that raid. So you have this man involved in community work, involved in this all-OC peace initiative, and yet he's subjected to this major investigation with no public outcome. It's puzzling, adds another layer.
It really does. It highlights how even, well-intentioned activities in a place like Kashmir can attract suspicion or unwanted attention from different quarters. The lack of clarity around that 2020 raid just deepens the mystery surrounding him.
So what about the immediate response now? The police, the Jammu and Kashmir police, they've registered a case. An investigation is underway. Standard procedure.
Right, as you'd expect.
But notably, no group has come forward to claim responsibility for the killing.
And that absence of a claim is telling, isn't it? It could mean several things.
Like what?
Well, it could be a tactic, right? So confusion, maximize fear, or it might suggest actors who prefer operating in the shadows without advertising their involvement.
Or maybe they aren't even part of a known group.
That's also possible. It makes pinning down the motive incredibly difficult.
So was it a targeted hit? Someone was settling a specific score or silencing him for a particular reason?
That's one possibility.
Or, and it seems unlikely given the home invasion, but could it possibly have been mistaken identity?
Highly improbable, I'd say, given the circumstances. But you can't rule anything out entirely at this stage.
Or was it maybe more general? Just an act designed to terrorize the community, destabilize the area, send a warning.
And each of those possibilities points in a different direction, with different implications for the security forces and the community itself. A targeted hit suggests a specific enemy. Spreading fear suggests a broader campaign.
Understandably, there's a lot of chatter online, on social media, people trying to connect the dots, pointing fingers, maybe militant groups, maybe local rivalries, maybe cross-border elements. The usual suspects get mentioned in these situations.
And that's often what happens in an information vacuum, isn't it? People try to construct a narrative from the pieces they have, but it's crucial to remember how much of that is just speculation, especially early on. Needs caution.
But we keep coming back to the timing. Just 4 days.
Yeah.
4 days after Pahalgam. That attack where innocent tourists were killed. It feels connected, even if we don't know how yet. At the very least, it suggests a heightened level of something dangerous happening. Security forces must be on incredibly high alert now.
Absolutely. The proximity is too close to ignore. Whether it's coordinated or opportunistic, it definitely signals increased tension. Intelligence agencies will be working flat out trying to figure out if there are direct links.
And this, of course, all plays out against the backdrop of Kashmir's long, tragic history of violence.
Decades of it.
Yeah. Any hope for lasting peace always feels so fragile there. Pahalgam was a brutal reminder.
A really stark reminder.
And now this killing of Magray, it just adds another layer of instability, another reason for fear in an already tense environment.
It really does. These kinds of events chip away at any sense of normalcy or progress. They feed into this cycle of anxiety and make finding a path to genuine stability even harder for ordinary people just trying to live their lives.
And we are hearing about increased security, boots on the ground, especially in the Kupwara area.
Which is understandable.
Especially given its location, right? Close to the Lost Sea. It's historically been an area with militant activity.
Right. Increased security is a necessary response, of course, to try and prevent more violence and reassure people, but it's always a difficult balance.
How so?
While heavy security can also be disruptive, it can increase a sense of tension if not handled very carefully. The aim has to be security without making the local community feel under siege.
Yeah, I see. And looking online again, you see people mentioning as Lost Sea Trade Pass, that 2020 raid.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to piece together why.
That public attempt to make sense of it all.
Alongside just this overwhelming feeling of sadness, of tragedy, mixed in with the basic facts being reported.
And that reflects, I think, that humans need to understand why. Why does this happen? Especially when the official answers aren't immediately clear. People fill the gaps with what they know or suspect.
And we have to remember the impact of a targeted killing like this. It's not just about the one person lost.
No, absolutely not.
It sends a message, doesn't it? A really chilling message to the whole community, to other activists, to anyone thinking of speaking out or working for change.
Precisely. The strategic goal is often much broader than the individual target. It's about intimidation. It's about silencing dissent, making people afraid to engage, afraid to even try and improve things, creating that atmosphere of fear.
Now, if you're listening to this, maybe you're in Mumbai or Delhi or Bangalore, far away from Kupwara, you might think, okay, it's terrible, but why should this specific incident matter so much to me?
It's a fair question. Why focus on this one event in a place that feels distant?
But I think it does matter. Because what happens in Kashmir, issues of security, violence, justice, they're not just local issues. They reflect bigger challenges for the whole country.
They're national challenges, issues of unity, security, how we ensure justice for everyone, everywhere within the nation. It has ripples.
Exactly. And beyond the politics, it's just a human story, isn't it?
Yeah.
An ordinary man, a shopkeeper trying to help his community. And he becomes a victim of this horrific violence. That resonates, or it should, wherever you are.
That shared vulnerability, that shared desire for safety and peace. His story taps into something universal, the right to live without fear.
And maybe it also makes us think about what activist really means. And sometimes it sounds like a loaded term.
It can be, yeah.
But here you have someone just doing practical things, trying to make life better for his neighbors, involved in trade, meant to build peace. and facing risks, obviously immense risks, as it turned out.
Yeah.
That feels like activism in its most fundamental sense.
Definitely. It's that grassroots engagement, not necessarily about big political statements, but about tangible local action. And it highlights the courage that often takes, especially in difficult environments, often with little recognition and, tragically, at great personal cost.
So right now, the immediate aftermath,
Yeah.
Kupwara is dealing with fear, with uncertainty. The police are investigating. But answers, real answers, and justice, they can be incredibly hard to come by in a place as complex as Kashmir. That hope for real, lasting peace can feel very distant for people living there day to day.
It's a time of mourning for the community, no doubt, and apprehension. The authorities have that difficult task now. Investigate thoroughly, transparently if possible. Try to provide some accountability, some sense of closure, however partial.
And I think for us listening, maybe Ghulam Rasool Magray's death is, well, it's a wake-up call. A reminder to pay attention to these stories beyond the headlines.
Yeah.
To question things, and to remember to honor the people who are actually trying to make a positive difference, often against huge odds.
It really reinforces the need for a much deeper, more nuanced understanding of the challenges there, and a commitment, a long-term one, to addressing the root causes of this instability. Quick fixes aren't going to work.
So we're left, inevitably, with those huge, difficult questions hanging in the air.
Yeah.
Will justice be served for Ghulam Rasool Magray? Will Kashmir find a path to real, sustainable peace?
Those are the fundamental questions, aren't they? And the answers aren't simple. They require tackling security, yes, but also the deep social, economic, political issues that keep fueling the conflict.
But maybe, as we finish this deep dive, the most important thing is just to remember him, Ghulam Rasool Magray. Not as a statistic, not as just another name in a news cycle, but as an individual, an ordinary man who showed an extraordinary commitment to his community in a world often swamped by negativity. His life, and sadly his death, is maybe a reminder of the quiet good people do and the value of that.